ahead.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, welcome. This meeting is now called to order. The roll call has been taken by the clerk. I would like to remind the committee, staff, and our viewing public of the electronic participation policy for virtual meetings. The full corporate policy 50 regarding electronic and virtual meetings is available online to review. Staff and delegates are reminded to keep their videos and microphones off until requested by the chair or members of the committee. All cameras for committee members shall remain on to ensure quorum is achieved. In the event of a connection or service interruption that affects quorum, we may recess for up to 15 minutes to regain quorum. If quorum is not achieved, the meeting will be adjourned. All rules for delegations under the city's procedural bylaw will continue to apply, and all members of the committee participating via online video conference will vote by physical show of hands. The chair will indicate to leave your hand raised until they have determined the result of the vote. So with that, we will move on to declarations of conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts to declare with any item on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, there are no presentations and delegations for this meeting. So we'll move on to item 4.1, proposed alteration to 91 North Park Street. I will ask Karen Fagai and Jane Gowing to provide an overview of the assessment. As a reminder, you will have 10 minutes inclusive of questions.
Good evening. Well, I'm happy that you all achieved quorum. I'm Jane. This is Karen. We reside at 91 North Park Street, which currently has a sunroom off the south side of the house, east of the lovely bay window that I know is part of the heritage of the building. We would like to extend that sunroom to the back of the house, take off the vinyl siding and put something a little more age appropriate for the building, and make it a larger sunroom to make it nicer, I guess, is the summary. We don't believe that we are impacting any of the heritage features of the home, and are certainly very concerned with maintaining the appearance and the way that the street view of the house
is maintained
is at the current time. So we don't really have anything else to say other than we are very aware of how lovely the house is and want to make sure it stays that way.
Okay, thank you for your little presentation there. Does anyone have any questions from the committee for our presenters? Michael, go ahead, please.
Who will be performing the work that's going to be done on the house? Will it be a reputable contractor, or will you be doing it, or have somebody that's not so much in the business for doing such work?
No, our intention is to hire a reputable contractor. I'm in construction, and I certainly want to make sure that this is done properly. So
we actually hired an architect to do the drawings and submit everything. So no, we're not doing it ourselves. We'll be hiring a reputable contractor, but we haven't yet gone out because we were waiting for this meeting.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other members of the committee have questions? Oh, Councillor Wall, go ahead.
Thanks for coming and for your presentation. How did you guys know to come to the Heritage Committee?
Oh, well,
when we were looking at
we know, yeah,
potentially putting the addition on, I went on to the city's website to find out what we needed to do to apply, as it is a designated heritage
Home.
building.
Yeah.
So then I called and they said we had to submit both the plans to the building department and the heritage department, and that it would have to go through this meeting to get final approval.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions for our presenters? I'd just like to thank them for putting board and batten on as a nice. It's much more appropriate to the building. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Can we ask one question?
Oh,
What is the procedure from here?
So we're going to have a staff presentation, and then we are going to vote on the recommendation that it be approved.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
you're welcome to watch and see
Sure.
what happens after. Okay?
Okay,
Thank
Nathan,
you.
before they go,
Yeah,
if I may,
go ahead.
thank you. Sorry, you're the boss. I'm just double checking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a staff presentation after this, but is there anything that you want to tell us? Like, the report that I have here says that staff reviewed the proposed alterations and is of the opinion that the proposed alterations will maintain and enhance the heritage attributes. So it seems like, unless you can give me a reason why we shouldn't approve this, staff. Is there anything you could do to kind of sell it to us more though? Like, I mean,
Well,
you guys
this is
clearly
our-
love the heritage of your
Yeah,
property.
this is our second heritage home. We had one previously on Sheridan. And we sold that one. And then we're actually living in St. George, and we wanted to move back into Brantford. So we actually specifically were looking for a heritage home. We just like the looks of it. We just actually had outside painting done on the spindles, already. So we're very aware, and we like old homes, and we like to make sure they're maintained.
So do you believe that the work that you're going to do is going to be closer to the heritage of the property than what you currently have?
well, I don't think they had ugly yellow vinyl siding in the 1800s.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a time machine? I mean, no.
Yeah.
So, it didn't really seem to go with the building to begin with, but, we'd like to bring it back to a board and batten and the brick. And we just felt that that would enhance the building, not take away from it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yep. So I'll now ask Michelle DeGrassi, long-range planner, to come forward and present on this item. Did I get your name right, Michelle?
Michelle LaDresse. Yeah, you're close.
Okay.
All right, so this is a staff presentation for 91 North Park Street, Heritage Permit Application HA 0322. 91 North Park Street is an individually designated property. It was designated by the city through bylaw 99-2006 in 2006. The property is located on the east side of North Park Street, north of Dublin Street, and south of Owen Avenue. The dwelling on the property is a Brantford cottage, and this photo was taken by staff earlier this month. The dwelling retains heritage attributes like the ornate eave brackets, a cornice molding, and its original window and door openings on the front and side facades. There are existing additions on the side and rear. So this one you can see here. The applicant's proposal would see the existing sunroom addition on the south side of the dwelling shown here in these photos below removed. A new expanded addition would then be built to allow for a larger sunroom and kitchen. The front wall of the new sunroom would align with the front wall of the current sunroom addition, so just behind the 3-bay window, and would expand towards the rear wall here. The patio space shown in the photo on the right would be removed, and the rear wall of the new addition will line up with the rear of the building. So the applicant's site plan is shown here, and it shows the dimensions of the new sunroom and its placement. The elevations provided by the applicant can be seen here. The new addition will feature tall and narrow windows. Tall and narrow windows are appropriate for the age of this building. For the cladding material, the applicant is proposing an engineered wooden board and batten siding in a light color. We've included 2 reference photos from the manufacturer's website here. Wooden board and batten is an appropriate material available historically as an option for siding. The light color is sympathetic to the bust yellow brick that the historic dwelling was built with. The proposed addition, as noted previously, will increase the floor area of the dwelling, but all work proposed is occurring towards the rear of the building and the property. The extant heritage attributes are being retained at 91 North Park Street. The proposal meets standard 11 of the Parks Canada standards and guidelines for the conservation of historic places in Canada, conserving the heritage value and character defining elements of a historic property. As shown in the elevation, the new addition will maintain the same general setback and scale as the existing addition, which is being removed and replaced. The new addition will not change the appearance of 91 North Park Street from the street and is appropriately subordinate in scale and setback from the main dwelling. On the basis that the proposal does not remove any heritage attributes of 91 North Park Street, is appropriately set back and subordinate scale, will be clad as embedded material. Staff recommends the heritage permit application HA 0322 be approved. But this concludes the presentation, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Myself on mute there. Thanks, Michelle. Any questions for Michelle? Oh, Susan, go ahead.
No, hi, Michelle. Have we reviewed roofing material?
No, but the drawings that we have received from the applicant, it shows the roof line being extended from the current roof. So I would suspect the current material would be used. I think would the applicant be able to speak directly to that?
Only because they've had an opportunity to delegate already, they are not permitted back in to speak.
Okay. Maybe Alan could provide some insight.
Okay. Okay, Alan's here. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sorry, I don't have that detailed. I'd have to go back and look at the materials we received from the applicant to double check to see what the roofing materials are. But it wasn't flagged as a concern by Patrick, so I would imagine if it was something of concern to him, he would have flagged that for us. But again, I don't know for sure.
Any other questions? Councillor Wall?
Yeah, just right along with what Susan said, is it possible for us to put in our comments or just to put a request that the roofing materials be made of a similar material to what's on the roof now?
We can do that if you can give it an amendment to the proposed motion and include a comment about that if you would like.
I don't know that we need to amend it. I mean, traditionally we want to make sure that the heritage elements of the exterior of the building. So like if they have an asphalt shingle roof now, just that it would be asphalt shingles on that roof, or something more period specific if they wanted to. But I would say nothing more modern than what's on the current roof.
I've just taken the time to take a quick look in the report and do see this with the submission that it did have asphalt shingles similar to what's existing there now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that answers Susan's question. Thank you, Alan. Any other member of the committee have any questions for Michelle? No. Okay, so then I am looking for a motion. Staff had the motion that this permit be approved. Susan, you're moving that motion and Michael seconding. I saw his hand. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, raise your hand. Oh. Thank you. Hands down. I declare that carried. We'll now move on to item 4.2, which is a proposed alteration to 84 Market Street. I'd ask that Yaw Yawson and Peter Vacano come forward, and they also have 10 minutes for their presentation, inclusive of questions.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. My name is Peter Vacano, and we own the property at 84 Market Street. I think everyone may or may not know that because we were in front of the committee, what, a month or month and a half ago regarding some landscaping. This application is in regards to the front doors. Can someone please bring up what we have submitted, please? I could better explain it that way.
Just bear with me, I'll pull it up for you.
Could we please put the drawing on the screen that we submitted? This is a planning report.
Lisa, it should be there as Appendix C to the report.
Yeah, I'm just looking for it. Bear with me.
Lisa, I'm referring to the front elevation, comparing the existing doors to the proposed. Yes, that's it. Thank you. So hopefully everyone can see this drawing. We have submitted this application because the two double front doors of the existing building do not function. They do not function in today's way of doing business. As far as main entrance doors to a private office building, where people would enter and people would exit both at the same time. And also the width of the door is only 2'6", which is fairly narrow. But as a committee should understand that we originally suggested to the planning department through Patrick that we would like to remove these doors completely and install automatic frameless glass doors. Whereas in a quality building of any kind today, when you walk up to the front doors of a building, they automatically slide it open. And I can honestly tell you that that type of operation of main front doors of an office building is used quite extensively everywhere. We were told that that would not ever be approved at committee, and that we should forget about changing those doors. We've tried to forget about changing those doors into frameless glass doors, of which I really want to install in this building. And as a compromise, we submitted the drawing. I'm not sure if this is the latest drawing. Maybe it is. Y'all, could you confirm that, please?
Yes, it is the latest drawing.
Okay, thank you. We compromised and said to ourselves, okay, planning doesn't want us to remove these doors and install frameless automatic doors. Let's leave the doors in place, but we really should see if we can cut in glass panels. Now, please understand that what's put in front of you here is very much in keeping with the design of the building and the time and era that the building was constructed. The building across the road, the Bell Canada building, same vintage as far as year would be year built and also design, which is a modern Art Deco, has exactly these doors. And they're original, a 4-panel glass double doors. You can't see them from the front elevation. You have to, because they're turned 90 degrees and you have to turn left and turn right to see them. And I did visit the Bell Canada building, and they are exactly these doors with glass in them. I find it very difficult to accept the fact that an individual would feel comfortable walking up to a slab solid wooden door and feel welcome or welcoming into that private business. Remember, this is not a public building. This is a private business and private businesses that will reside in this building. I myself am an architectural technologist. I have studied restoring old buildings. I have restored probably more old buildings in the downtown core than anyone. I could list them all if you wish. I have walked around Victoria Park, that which we fall under as far as heritage protection, and I see that the courthouse has glass doors in them, and the courthouse is much older than this building. The original doors are removed and glass doors installed. The Carnegie building, the now Laurier building, which was once the public library, it has glass doors. St. Andrew's Church, that was reconstructed after a fire not that long ago, has glass aluminum doors at the main doors, a church, and a lot older than this building. The Bank of Montreal, another iconic building, glass doors, both side and front. And I can go on and on and on around Victoria Park. And much of all the buildings have, much of all the older buildings trying to function in today's way of functioning and living have glass doors. So I put forth to the committee that this design that I've submitted to alter these doors are very much in keeping with the style and nature of the style of this building. And the doors that were installed, I might even suggest to you that they were wrong at the time and they are wrong today to install a solid slab doors that would be the focal point of a building that you want to enter. And it's not like the Wizard of Oz sitting on the other side of those doors. Please appreciate that inside main entrance doors of a building, there's usually a vestibule. Last thing I would like to happen is that during the day, when these doors will automatically open, to have vagrants hiding behind these solid doors. And I think we all know the number of vagrants that are in and around this vicinity. And the best protection is visibility glass. If not approved, I am prepared to take this submission to LPAT. I believe we are in keeping with all heritage integrity of the building. We are improving the functionality, and we are certainly sensitive to the heritage aspects of this building. And that's all I have to say, people.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Any questions for Mr. Vacano from members of the committee? Tamara, go ahead.
Hi, thanks, Mr. Vacano. My question, I guess, is you mentioned accessibility. Has there been any thought as far as making these doors accessible, or I know the steps are right there in front. Any plans along that line, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Mr. Vacano, are you?
It looks like I was muted by someone.
Oh, okay. There we go.
The screen keeps disappearing and reappearing. Sorry, Tamara. What was your question again, please?
Sorry, yes. It just, I understand like these doors are heavy, they're old, they're wood. The accessibility feature. So you did mention, you touched on that a little bit about automatic door opening. Just wondering what kind of plans you had going on for these doors as far as accessibility goes in the future.
This building is not accessible from the front doors. It already has accessibility ramps and doors at the rear of the building. It's not possible to make these main doors accessible.
No.
There's steps in the front of the building. These doors are 2'6" wide. There are also steps just inside the doors too, by the way.
Yeah, right. As soon as you get in.
Yeah. So, no, these doors are not accessible type doors, and not meant to be, and nor do I mean to make them accessible or used to be accessible. Again, that provision is provided, has been being provided for the past 20 years at the rear of the building.
Okay, Tamara, does that answer your question there? Any other members of the committee have a question? Council Wall.
Thanks, Mr. Vacano, for coming to the committee today and for your presentation. It sounds like you're saying that, you're not necessarily thrilled or sure of the doors that are currently there have heritage value, other than the fact that they're doors that were there for such a long time, and that you're saying that you're adding something that may even add more heritage value with this door, even though it's more modern. Is that what I'm hearing?
Pretty much, yes. What I'm saying is, what I'm proposing is not out of design, out of nature for this style of building with a 4-panel glass cutouts in these doors. And if you were to do some research on this type of building, I believe you'll find that what I'm proposing is pretty much standard, even in 1952. You have to remember what this building was built for in 1952. It was very much you might call it was an insurance company called Foresters, and my father belonged to the Foresters as far as a subscriber. It was a pretty private place where, insurance was offered to people, and they came here to, pay the bill. So if you can imagine yourself walking up to two solid slab doors, it's pretty hard for me to imagine. I don't know if you can imagine it, but I can't, and feel comfortable and welcoming, as opposed to a door with glass in it.
Councillor Wall, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, I have a question then. The areas of the wood that you're removing on the doors, they're like a circle medallion feature. Is that circle medallion feature exist anywhere else on the building?
You know it does.
Okay, so it does. That answers my question, I guess. Another, I guess question. You know some of the history of this building. You're a smart historian, I think. So do
No,
you know?
it's not a matter of being smart or anything. I was raised in Brantford. you
Yeah.
know,
So
all my life.
the building was opened in the 50s, and one of the people who was responsible for the opening of the building was W. Ross McDonald, who himself was a forester and I believe the president of the company at the time. And at the museum, we also have pictures of the laying of the cornerstone of this building, and it's just that bottom row before the windows there as well. So this is a quite important historic building to the downtown. Okay, we will now move on to, the time has been exceeded, so we'll now move on to Alan Waterfield, the manager for long range planning, to come forward and present on this item. Go ahead, Alan.
I'm just getting my presentation up through sharing my screen. Are you all able to see the presentation now?
No.
No?
There we go. Thanks, Alan.
Okay, good. Okay. So this is Heritage Permit Application HA04 2020 for the Forester's Building at 84 Market Street. As we've heard, this subject property is part of the Victoria Square Heritage Conservation District, which was established back in 1991. The building is situated at the southwest corner of Wellington Street and Market Street, opposite the Victoria Park in downtown Brantford. The alteration proposed in the Heritage Permit application is the removal of all 8 of the wooden roundel details in the front doors of the building. And
sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. We just have the general view of all the slides down the one side. We don't have the presenting view. Sorry.
Are you not seeing just the one slide?
No.
Oh, that's what I'm seeing on my computer. Does that solve the problem? I'm sorry, Nathan, what are you seeing?
I'm still seeing the presenting view. where you have the slides on the down the left side of the screen and one slide in the center. You can present it that way. You'll just have to click on every slide in order for us to see it as you're talking about the specific items.
Okay. So
Okay.
it's just not what I'm seeing here. So I'm just not sure which slide you're seeing as the central one then.
Right now it's on slide number 3 in the center.
Yep, that's where I'm supposed to be. You saw the first slide, the background slide, which had the air photo and the
And
photo.
that's all we saw.
Right. Okay. And now do you see the proposed alteration slide?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I will continue then on this basis just so we can keep going. So as I was saying, the proposed alteration would remove the 8 roundel details from the wooden doors to the front of the building and replace them with 8 rectangular glass lights in place of the roundels. So the existing door frame and handles would remain, as well as the original transom and side light windows around the doors. And as Mr. Vicano has said, part of the reason they're proposing this alteration is to increase the visibility into the vestibule for those entering and exiting the building. So staff have considered the policies in 3 of our heritage policy documents, the city's Victoria Park Square Heritage Conservation District Study, the Parks Canada Standards and Guidelines for the Conservation of Historic Places in Canada, as well as the Ministry of Heritage, Tourism, Sport and Culture's 8 guiding principles in the conservation of built heritage properties. So some of the general themes coming out of those documents include that, the best option is always the conservation of heritage attributes and keeping the original character in place. That these approaches need to be minimal. Minimal alterations are at best, so that character defining elements can be maintained. While recognizing that new alterations aren't necessarily prohibited, the alterations should, as much as possible, conserve the heritage attributes and the historic value of the property. So I just wanted to draw some attention to some of the specific policies of the district study, particularly those that refer to the importance of the entrance door in this case. So traditionally, the front facade was the most important building elevation for buildings in this district. The visual focus of the main facade was typically that front entrance to really help define the quality and character. The front door was very important. The district study specifically notes that traditional wood doors should be encouraged and that the selection of the front door should be carefully considered to make sure that it enhances that distinctive heritage quality. And staff would also note too that the district study actually includes a picture of the Foresters building and these doors in particular as an example of a building entrance that has high quality and distinctive character that enhances the building facade. So while we acknowledge that the proposal would see a part of the original doors retained, in staff's opinion, it would alter the doors such that it would remove almost all of the defining character elements on those doors. And it would result in a loss of those architectural details that enhance the uniqueness and distinctiveness of this entry. and which also link it to the other parts of the building. So as you can see in this image, I'm hoping now you can see an image of the proposed alteration showing the doors, but also more of the front facade of the building. So you can see here that the roundel details in the doors reflect a circular design motif that's also included on the remainder of the building. So this ties those wooden doors to the rest of the property. They're part of a comprehensive design that includes both the facade walls and the entrance. And again, as I stated, you know, heritage conservation does allow for some alteration, but in this case, staff's concern is that this alteration isn't conserving those key heritage elements of the doors, and it would actually result in their destruction, basically, by those roundels being cut out of the doors. So I do know that Patrick had, yes, when he was told about the original proposal to modify these front doorways and remove the doors with an automated glass system, that you know, that would be problematic, and I think he had proposed some sort of compromise where, you know, we might see the doors actually removed unaltered, but therefore, you know, with the potential that perhaps they could be conserved elsewhere in the building, either perhaps as a decorative element in the foyer or in the front vestibule. We're just hoping that that idea could have been explored. So, you know, the intent of that option again was that those doors would be retained unaltered, and still be able to be associated with the building. So in that way, that the alteration that has been proposed and how you see it here in the design, that does have the roundel panels replaced with the window panels. It would still be an alteration that would at the same time conserve the doors rather than, you know, cutting them. So that was something that we were hoping that could be explored. But on the basis then that the proposal would alter and remove most of those architectural features, specifically the 8 roundels from the entrance doors, we felt that it wouldn't necessarily conserve the heritage value of these original custom-made doors. So staff would be recommending that this application be denied. And then because this city council is the body that retains authority to make decisions on heritage permits in cases such as this, when either staff or the heritage committee recommend a denial, that's why we've structured the recommendation in this way, so that the committee has opportunity to provide comments for inclusion in our report to the May 10th planning, or the May 10th Committee of the Whole for Planning and Administration. So that's why it's been formatted this way. So that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, for your presentation there. I see Susan has a question. Go ahead, Susan.
Hi. Alan, why was the original compromise refused or rejected?
Well, Patrick had proposed that as an option to the applicant. I think the latest we had heard was that they weren't necessarily interested in pursuing that option. I'm not sure if they were concerned about, where these doors would actually go if that option was pursued, if there was space or an opportunity to include them in the vestibule. So my understanding was that they're looking to move forward to committee of council for a decision on this matter.
Does that answer your question, Susan?
Yeah, so from that response, it was just flatly rejected, and there was no consideration for, I guess, either sourcing or making an attempt to explore alternate options. Is that correct? And we just want to go to city council. Is that it? Like, am I understanding the situation correctly?
That's my understanding based on what I've heard from Patrick of his discussions with the applicant. But I haven't had the opportunity myself to speak with Mr. Vicano. So.
Okay, well, I find
I don't
that
wanna put words in his
unfortunate.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Go ahead, Rob. Rob Adler.
Yes, I have a couple of questions, if I could. It's my understanding that the main impetus for this request is a personal preference on part of the owner to a large extent. Is there anything from the building department that raises any concerns that this would also need to be done in looking at public safety as in terms of a renovation? Is there anything that's moving it in that direction at all, or is this personal preference on the part of the owner?
I don't believe there would be any building code related issues with respect to safety and the build or the provision of windows at the front. I mean, as we've heard, there's already accessible entrance into the building from other doors at the rear to the property. So I don't believe there would be a building code issue in this case.
Any other
So
questions?
then this is more of a preference as opposed to a building code issue. Okay, my second question is there any concerns from staff at all? Looking at the drawing and the rendering of the window version of the doors when they've been cut into, my concern is that's removing a lot of material from both of those doors beyond the scope of the rondelle. Is there any concern about that, how that will affect the structural integrity of the doors themselves? I guess what I'm getting at is, if too much material is removed from a door that has already been stated as quite narrow, is it going to become unfunctional? And are we going to be looking at something in the future where the doors have to be removed altogether because they're no longer functional at all because so much of the original material has been removed?
I think to answer that question, I need to take a closer look at the doors to understand their thickness and all of that. But so it hasn't necessarily been a concern that we've specifically identified.
Any other questions, Rob? Sorry.
No, not at this time.
Okay. Any other questions for Alan? I have one. So you mentioned something about character defining elements, and you talk about the roundels. I think I called them something different. But would you consider these roundels on the building a character defining element of the building?
Well, I think in this case we would, just because it helps bring together various aspects of the facade. It's there present not only on those doors, but also on the rest of the front facade. I think it just speaks to the uniqueness and distinctiveness of those doors. Again, and our concern here is that, by cutting into those doors, that element is going to be lost. And I think that's where, Patrick had proposed the option of still retaining them. So I don't think it's that, we're necessarily opposed to the design of what is proposed with respect to what potentially could be replacement doors that are quite similar to what's proposed now, and we do recognize the tie-in to other buildings within the district. So what's proposed in that case isn't necessarily out of place. Again, our biggest concern lies in that the doors are going to be cut into, and that element of the feature will basically no longer exist.
Okay, thanks, Alan. So if no one else has any questions for Alan. Oh, Tamara, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I guess when I see modern office buildings, there's always the double doorway. There's the breezeway, I guess, or are there any plans for that, I guess, in the future? Like, will these doors end up just being propped open and a vestibule being created? Or is this like, this is the entrance to the building and then no other structure could be placed in front of it? You know where I'm going with that?
As to whether or not these doors could be left open, I'm not sure that this building design is set that way that could be functional. I think, you'd need to look at some other option where they'd be removed and perhaps, mounted on the wall as some sort of artistic piece within the vestibule.
Okay, Tamara, that's good for you. Okay. So then we have a motion for comments if we want to add comments. Rob, is that you, or is that your hand up from earlier?
Yeah, I just had one further question, actually.
Okay.
A point of clarification. Was it my understanding that these doors were to be automated? Is that by some type of motion detector? Or am I mistaken?
My understanding is that was the original proposal, that the doors would be replaced with, clear automated glass doors that, yes, would slide. The applicant did change their proposal for this submission, so I think the doors would still function as they do now. It's just that there would be much more visibility through those doors with the glass panels replacing the wooden roundels.
Okay. So we need a motion for comments if people want to add comments. If not, then we can just have a motion to receive. So would anyone like to make a comment on this that we forward to council? No? Oh, Tamara?
Sorry. Yeah, I guess my comment is that I do support staff's decision in rejecting this current proposal, and that a revisit to a design or some sort of salvage effort or reutilization of the doors would be much more beneficial or favorable on our part anyway.
Okay. So that's a comment. So then we need a mover. So Tamara, I guess are you moving that we have a comment? We need a seconder for comments, Susan. Any other comments that we want to add to this? Any other members of the committee? Rob?
Also in support of the recommendation to deny the permit, but further to that, staff has done an extensive job in researching both provincial and federal guidelines regarding heritage properties, and unfortunately, this violates both the spirit and somewhat the letter of those provincial and federal guidelines to that extent.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Any other comments? I would like to add a comment that the roundels are character defining elements of the building. Last call for comments. We have 3 comments there. No, seeing none. Okay, any debate on our comments and forwarding our comments? And seeing none, I will call the question then. All those in favor? Thank you, hands down. I declare that carried. Thank you very much. I'll now move on to item 4.3, which is our Heritage Register project, Public Information Center for Part 2, Phase D. Alan, would you like to go ahead?
Certainly, this will be very brief. I just wanted to bring to committee's attention that the next virtual public information center for the next round of the Heritage Register project, which is the Phase D properties, will be held on the 9th of May at 6 o'clock. So Patrick for sure will be sending you the connection details for that meeting. But basically that's what the update is on that, just so you know that that's coming up in about 2 weeks now. And notice of that public information has been sent to all of the potential listed properties within Area D.
Anyone have any questions for Alan about this? Sorry. No. There is a motion here that we should pass that this information be received. Can I have a mover to receive the memo? Okay, I see a couple of hands there. So I think I'm going to go with Michael and Lise as a seconder. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. I declare that carried. We'll now move on to 5 consent items. We have the Heritage Committee minutes of March 28th. Can I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes? Moved by Tamara, seconded by Michael. Any errors or omissions, anything that needs to be corrected? No? Okay, good. Seeing none, I will call the question then. All those in favor? Thank you. I declare that carried. There are no subcommittees meeting right now, so we have no updates from our subcommittees. There are no resolutions and no notices of motion. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Tamara, thank you. Thanks everyone for a good meeting, and we'll see you next month.